continue to pray. Just a few minutes. Seems like this morning that we've all kind of had the same thing on our minds. And that is the lulls that we get into. The roller coaster ride and the high highs and the low lows, and it's just life.
Yeah.
But you know, it's kind of like when Dad was up here and he was talking about this morning about how the Lord's blessings have never changed. He's still the same God.
That's right.
Still the same
That's right.
Spirit. But it's in our approach that changes. Yeah. And it's in our weakness that sometimes robs us. Yeah. Of a blessing.
Most of the time.
And I'm the world's worst for it. I don't need to point the finger at anyone else. I feel like that when the Lord blesses me and the Spirit begins to flow, that I could almost take on this whole world by myself. And you know, the wind will blow and my strength will blow right along with it.
Isn't that something?
And I'll think,
About foolish creatures.
Lord, where are you?
Yeah.
In the twinkling of an eye, I can go from ready to take on this world to even wondering if I'm even a Christian.
Yeah, that's something.
And you know the difference I've found in a little, I guess 11 years now. The difference between how I used to feel before I was a child of God and I was praying on account of my sins, and I was trying to fill that void that was down inside of me, and I would think, I didn't even know how to pray, but I was crying, and I would think, I would get done praying and I would feel pretty good.
Yeah.
And maybe I'd go to sleep and I'd have a good peaceful sleep. But you know, the next morning would come and I would get out into this world.
Yeah.
And I would find myself feeling just like I was when I was down beside my bed. That same empty feeling, saying, Lord, just last night, Lord, I felt like you were sitting there right beside of me. And this morning, I don't even know how I'm going to face the day.
Yep.
People, the difference, listen, is that now I still get like that. Don't get me wrong. Listen, but it's not the Lord that does it. It's me. Listen, I still get when I feel like people, when I wake up in the morning, I still have down, I still have weakness. People, Lord, I don't know how I'm gonna face work today. People, I don't know, listen, how I'm gonna handle that meeting I've got. I don't know how I'm gonna handle, listen, what this world throws at me. But oh, the difference now is then I know who I need to turn to.
That's right. Yeah.
Listen and lay it in His hand and say, Father, I know that I can't do this on my own. Listen, so I'm going to leave it in your hands, people.
All we can do.
You know, that's the difference, listen, between having that comforter, listen, and not being a child of God. But do you remember, listen, what we was going through before we had this little building? Do you remember the tears that we shed? Do you all remember, listen, getting together and just crying and saying, Lord, Lord, I feel like a stranger in a strange land. What are we gonna do for these children? How are we gonna be able to preach to them? I remember, listen, my wife crying herself to sleep at night, thinking, we're going to have to move back to Kentucky, listen, just to get our kids in church. But how sweet my Lord is. People, don't take air for granted. Listen, I know it ain't much to look at, but don't take this little home for granted, people. But you know, me and Brandy, we was talking, listen, we was talking on our drive down, and I asked her, I said, what do you think I should preach about? Listen, and she told me, she said, why don't you preach about, listen, how we get down, listen, and we get in that lull, people, do you remember what it was like when you was first baptized and come out of the water? Listen, how strong you were. You was ready to fight any fight that the devil threw at you. People, how do you feel this morning? Do you still feel that way? People, you know what? We need to pray for the opportunity to do God's work, because you're not going to find it, listen, sitting on your couch, watching TV. You pray for that opportunity. Listen, to be a good witness to someone, and I promise you, He'll give it to you. But you know what? That's only half of it, because when that opportunity is placed in front of you, now it's on you to act on it, Brother Shan. But you know what? It's like listen, it's like when Jesus was standing there and He had a crowd around Him, people, and there was a rich man come to Him, listen, and he looked at my Lord and said, Master, good Master, what one good work must must I do to inherit eternal life? But he was looking for that smoking gun. Listen, give me that task, and I'll prove to you how worthy I am. But if he'd have told him, you do this great feat, listen, you win this great, listen, treasure, you fight this great battle, listen, no doubt, he'd have been up to task, but he looked at him and said, why do you call me good? There's only one good, listen, and that is God. And he said, just keep the commandments, listen, honor thy mother and father, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not steal. He went through and he named them off, people, and that rich man, he looked at him and said, all these things have I done since my youth, but I'm still lacking something. Then Jesus, he hit him hard, and he said, you take all your riches, and you go and sell it, and you give it to the poor, then you'll have treasures in heaven. But he didn't stop there. He said, after you've done that, then you come and follow me. It wasn't in that work, listen, of selling and giving away everything he had. That work wasn't going to get him to heaven. It was that last part, Brother Josh, when he said, after you've taken your main stumbling block and you get rid of her, then you're ready to come and follow me. But here's that opportunity. I put it right in front of him. Listen, but that rich man, he went away sad, people, because he knew he couldn't do it. Brother Josh, he knew how much that he loved his worldly possessions. People, you know what? Listen, it's just like when that Pharisee and that publican, that tax collector, listen, they went down to the temple one time. Listen, and that Pharisee, he stood and he thanked God. He said, thank you, God, for not making me like these other men. I thank you, people, you know, for not making me like this little tax collector here. And he began to tell how good he was.
That's right.
He said, I fast weekly, I give my tithes. Listen, thank you for not making me like this man. But here come opportunity. One more time. That little tax collector, he knelt down on his knees, and he wouldn't raise his head. hand out of heaven, and he just said, oh, Master, have mercy on me, a sinner. People, one of them men left that temple justified. Listen, and it wasn't that Pharisee.
That's right.
But listen, when opportunity presents itself, the battle's only half won.
Yeah.
We need to pray for that opportunity. And you know, when me and Brandy was talking, and she was feeling down because she felt like she wasn't doing enough for God. And I told her the best I could to try to counsel her a little bit, and said that I understand where you're coming from, because as a housewife, you're stuck inside those four walls with three children all day, and it's hard
It is
to
hard.
have that opportunity to do something for the Lord. And you know, I didn't so much as to get done counseling her. When we hung up the phone, I began to think about myself. And I began to ask myself, do I do enough with the opportunity that I have?
Nope, you don't. I'll tell you right now.
And the answer was no. I fall very short. And you know, I'll tell this, and I'm going to get out of the way and let Josh come and sing a couple songs and take his time. And you know, no doubt everyone has probably seen, I was reading that little article in the news. It's been in the news lately about that little baby that was saved.
Yep.
And you know, I read through that little story there, and it's such a beautiful little story. And there's a few different versions of it, but it goes something like there was a little newborn baby, and a mother was driving along, and they went off a bridge and went into the water, a little river there. And you know, the mother drowned, and sometime later a car come, and it was a few younger men, and they had their windows down, and they heard a little voice say, "Help me." And it was a grown man's voice that they heard holler, saying, "Help me." And they stopped, and they looked, and they couldn't see anyone anywhere around. And they shut off their car, and they listened, and they heard it again. And it said, "Help me." Listen, and they got up, and they walked over, and they looked over in the water, and they seen that car completely submerged. And they heard it again, a voice saying, "Help me." Listen, and they went down there, people, and there was that little baby, was just in a little air pocket about that big, and it was alive. Listen, and the mother was dead, and had drowned, and they were able to get that little baby out and save its life. People, and these men didn't profess to be Christians, people, but when they were interviewed, and they said, how did you know to go and check? Because the bridge wasn't damaged. And they all three said, "We heard someone say, 'Help me.'" Listen, you know what? And the churches, listen, have been publicizing this story. And the atheists have been tearing us apart. Listen, and making fun of them for it. People, but I tell you, if we had the eyes of Elisha, listen, when we looked down at that car, they'd have seen angels standing all around it, saying, "We've got one here."
God's army.
People, that's the way my Lord works this morning.
This is. Thank you, Lord.
Such a beautiful little story that it was.
Yeah. Thank you, Lord.
But you know, God's miracles are everywhere.
Yes, they are.
If we would just open our eyes. This world will do everything it can to tell you that there's nothing to them. But my Lord loves to bless His children.
Yes, he does.
You come on, Brother Josh, and take your
Well
time.
done.
I love you.
Well done.